This is the BBC.
Hi, I'm Simon King, and before you enjoy this podcast, I just wanted to tell you about a new podcast from myself and Claire Nazir. It's called Under the Weather, and in it we're joined by a range of experts to explore some of weather's most interesting and challenging questions.
Should we still be worried about the hole in the ozone layer? It's a big question.
There's all sorts of approaches to come up with a technique that could cool the planet.
That's Under the Weather, and you can find it wherever you found this.
Hello, and welcome to the Comedy of the Week podcast from BBC Radio 4. All the best comedy to keep you laughing. Here's today's show. Enjoy.
Welcome to Sophie Willan's Guide to Normality. My name's Sophie Willan, and today we'll be looking at jobs. I'm a comedian, so, it's hardly a normal job, is it? I mean, we lack structure completely. The only routine I have is every morning I wake up, look at the clock, laugh and roll over. You spend most of your daytime trapped in your own psychosis, screaming jokes at the wall. Then in the evening you go out into dark rooms with drunk strangers and scream that psychosis at them. Well, my understanding of normal jobs is that you do the same thing every day. Like, you get up, it goes bing, 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 my little alarm again. You go into work, you see the same people every day. At least with you lot, I might never see you again. You go in, don't you? Hiya, Bob. Hiya, Sharon. Hey, do you want a cup of tea, Bob? Oh, yeah, go on, Sharon. Hey, Bob, it's 10 o'clock. Do you want another cup of tea? Oh, yeah. Hey, Bob, look, 2 o'clock, Bob. Do you want another cup of tea? Oh, yeah. 4 o'clock, Bob. Only 2 hours, Bob. And 40 years to go, Bob. No, I've never been very good at jobs, and I very rarely got employed. I think, for a start, I left school with no qualifications. I was actually excluded for arriving drunk in a bikini. To be fair, there was a very hot day in Bolton. Every normal job I've ever had, I've been sacked from. Like, I got a job working as a waitress. I got sacked for throwing a satsuma at the chef's head. Then I found out recently my grandma got sacked for throwing a melon at a chef's head. It's obviously some sort of hereditary fruit-based problem. Do you know, I was even sacked from a 6-week position working as a Christmas elf in Wigan. That was a very demoralising day. I've got the letter of the sacking. I'll read it to you. Dear Miss Willan, this letter is a written warning for unsatisfactory job performance. On the 21st of the 11th of 8, you engaged in a public argument with a happy Grotto Santa in Wigan Town Centre. I have to say, he wasn't that happy. And the problem is, when you work as an elf, the amount of Santas that I know with Messiah complexes... One Santa turned round to me one day and said, I'm not just a Santa, I'm a family therapist. It goes on. On numerous occasions, you've been seen looking angry and bored when greeting customers. You have frequently absconded from your duties as dancing Christmas tree. Wouldn't you? It's not just me that struggles with jobs. My whole family do. We're very unemployable as a breed, actually. Like, my grandmother's always struggled with jobs. She's had more waitressing jobs than hot dinners. The longest job my grandmother ever kept was, she had a job working for Ann Summers as a party rep. And it was when I lived with her. And the garage was always full of sex toys, right? I remember going in once and opening up a box of keyring cocks with faces on and giving them out to all my friends at school because I thought they were Beaker from the Muppets. That was a very awkward conversation with the social worker. My mum has never had a job in her life. She's got drug-induced psychosis and often thinks Freddie Mercury is speaking to her. So she's hardly going to make Employee of the Year. The last time I saw her, she had bright pink hair and was fashioning a Super Ted lunchbox as a handbag. She looks very much like Iggy Pop does now. She's happy, though. She lives with a man called Dave now. Dave's lovely. Dave's a schizophrenic with a heart of gold. He's a lovely chap. He's also never had a job, but he's technically self-employed because he sells knockoff tobacco to all the local rehabs. He's never taken drugs before, but he's also got no teeth, so they get on like a house on fire. It's like watching two elastic bands have a conversation. He's also partially deaf. I did wonder how he heard the voices, but he assures me he can. They live in Dave's council flat. My mum's moved to Blackpool, so they've got a holiday home to go to in the summer. They do have a few hobbies together, though. Like my mum, she loves ornament pixies. You know when you go in a charity shop, there's that glass shelf? And you see all those figurines, you go, ooh, disgusting. My mum loves that shelf. Last time I saw her, she came running over. She said, Sophie, I've got another ornament pixie and it's amazing. I looked and I thought, my God, if you discovered those before heroin, we could have had a very different life. When I tell people that my mum and Dave have never worked a day in their life, they get very, very funny. It brings out the Daily Mail and even the best of people. They go, oh, right, I see. Just technically, our taxes are paying for people like your Dave to laze about. Dave is not lazing about, is he? He's got 8 personalities. He's knackered. I believe my mum's condition is part of a hangover of poverty that's lingered through generations and affected our mental health. As a result, she can't do normal things and do normal jobs. I mean, do you want my mum working on the checkout of Home Bargains? My mum gets frightened of being in a queue, never mind having people queuing up at her. What are you all doing in a mad line, you fascists? The point-scoring system for disability now means that people like my mum and Dave have to be regularly interrogated of why they're not fit for work. I don't know how my mum proves it. Does she go into the job centre with a spoon? These are the spoons I'm using now. That helps. I know there's only 2 of us in this interview, but I see 8, if that helps. And what do we expect when spending on drug and alcohol treatment has been slashed by 105 million in 4 years? While the government have been cutting chunks out of welfare, there's still a few things that they're not cutting back on. Like the bar in the House of Commons is still partly subsidised. I know, I've tried to take Dave. He was in 2 minds. So technically, we're paying for politicians to get pissed. Now, I get drunk. I think a lot of you are tonight, aren't you? And when we get drunk, we say and do a lot of stupid things, don't we? But it doesn't become a law, does it? I once insisted that if a kebab takes longer than 5 minutes to make, I have the right to dance on the counter. That was never legitimised. And I've woken up next to some very questionable people, but never the DUP. Careers advice is often the way that you get jobs, isn't it? I think careers advice from a careers advisor is actually an oxymoron, isn't it? Especially the ones in the job centre. Because no 6-year-old child thinks, when I grow up, I want to work in a very depressing admin position. Making poor people feel bad for a living. The thing is, if people feel out of control and stressed at work, they will be unhappy in their personal life. Now, I can really relate to that, because I once got a job working as a nightclub mascot in a student night in Manchester, and I have to say I was very depressed. I had to dress up as a giant foam smurf, to dance on a podium with a huge foam head on. It was so hot that by the end of the night, the sweat would be dripping in my eye and I couldn't see. I was blind on a podium, dressed as a smurf. You weren't allowed breaks. You couldn't just pop your head off and go for a cigarette. Just had to stay there while students hugged you and were sick on your foam foot. Another thing that's quite difficult for people in working environments is arseholes. It's amazing. There's loads of them and you're expected to work amongst them. So I've collected a list of the top difficult people to work with in normal job environments. The Jobsworth. They're the one holding after-work talks on the abuse of office stationery. Dobbing Colin in for arriving late and leaving passive-aggressive notes by unwashed cups. Somebody needs to remind the Jobsworth that if they drop dead tomorrow, they would be replaced within the month. The office party planner. The one who always has a marathon, raffle-based cake sale incentive to distract them from their empty box set watching, Facebook messaging, boring life. The antisocial eater. If you've started some sort of weird onion-based diet, or you like to eat boiled eggs or tuna out of a tin, maybe you shouldn't do it in a hot enclosed space with no ventilation. The late night emailer. John here, just touching base at 11:45 p.m. Just to remind you that I'm an important wheel in the machine. I'm always on, I'm always thinking, I'm ready for that promotion. So what have I learned on my quest to define the ultimate guide to normal jobbing? Our jobs dominate most of our lives. They take up so much time. So much of our identity and happiness is tied into our jobs. So I think we need to demand more. Instead of a minimum wage, maximum nonsense, we should have maximum wage, minimum nonsense. We should demand more holidays, better pay, less arseholes. Nobody wants to be Bob and Sharon. Now, I'm self-unemployed, depending on how you look at it. And as my own boss, I have to say I'm brilliant. I've created a very good workplace environment, and I've written a contract to myself, from myself, so you can hear what sort of boss you should expect. Dear Miss Willan, we are pleased to offer you the position of self-unemployed comedian and pyjama model at Sophie's HQ. It's absolutely imperative that you arrive at work in slippers, and you must be in the lounge at 3:45 p.m. every day for a crumpet and an episode of Diagnosis Murder. You will be expected to take regular breaks, holiday leave, gardening leave, shopping leave, dentist leave, going to visit your gran leave, lingering 2-day hangover leave. And regularly pootle around on Facebook in the middle of the working day. Should you have any issues at work or in your personal life that you wish to discuss, therapists are available on the bar at the local Wetherspoons throughout the working day. We are very much excited to have your dynamic personality and unique working style in our organisation. Yours sincerely, Sophie's HQ. Thank you, Sophie Willan. Thank you for listening. Sophie Willan's Guide to Normality was written and performed by me, Sophie Willan. The producer was Susie Grant, and it was a BBC Studios production.
That's it for this episode of Comedy of the Week. I hope you enjoyed it. See you next time for more comedy from BBC Radio 4.
Hello, I'm Paul Lewis, and I'm here to tell you about the Moneybox podcast. Moneybox is all about your money, how you earn it, spend it, save it, invest it, and how you stop anyone else taking it from you. It's not all gloom, though. We cover pensions, benefits, banking, insurance, tax, and getting money back when things go wrong. Sign up wherever you usually get your podcasts from.